It's a cloudy, cold day, but I've got a good trike review coming up. This is the Emojo Dexter. One of the reps of Emojo actually stopped by and I got to ride several of their trikes after they shipped this one to me. I'll be honest, out of all the Emojos I rode, this was my favorite. So I'm glad this is the one they left me for review, but that was just a very quick ride around the parking lot. Let's test it out for a little bit longer today and see how it performs. One of the things I want to point out about this right away is that this is a very different trike configuration than typical. So I'm going to use this Mooncool behind us as an example. So normally what you have is, for the seat post, it goes straight down and the bottom bracket, the center point for your cranks, is more or less in a straight line, just slightly angled back up to the saddle. So that's like 95%, maybe 99% of all trikes of this layout, with the two wheels in the back, one wheel in the front. But the Dexter is more of a crank forward design. So if you follow the seat post down, not only does it have a steeper angle, putting the seat further back, but instead of the center point of the bottom bracket, the cranks being right here, it's forward about 5 inches or so. And accounting for that post, you're probably a good 6 inches difference as far as your saddle to pedal position. Now, why does that matter and what does that do for you? Well, basically, there's two advantages to it. One, your feet go out forward a little bit more, so you're sitting back a little more relaxed. Also, because your legs are going out forward a bit, you can put the saddle down a little bit lower. It's gonna get your center of gravity lower on the trike, make it feel a little bit more stable. So what I'm expecting from this trike is that it's gonna be very comfortable to ride. It's gonna be very stable feeling, and cool thing about that, with your saddle being able to be lower, is you could put your feet down on the ground when you stop. Now, do you need to do that on trike? Not really, but it does make it easier to get on and off. So if you're looking at trikes specifically because of mobility issues or balance, this is why this kind of setup is actually quite nice. So that's one of the big important things. Other details you're gonna see on this trike: it is a folding model. Now, the handlebars don't fold out of the way very easily, unfortunately, but it does still fold in half right here. And then we have this kind of a more modern setup we're seeing on trikes these days, with a hub motor kind of mid-mounted that gives you a lot more torque. They climb hills better, and then you can use a proper differential, so you're driving both rear wheels. We've got a tail light back here. Here's the differential down here, and this is just a much better setup for handling. Now, one thing that's kind of cool, but maybe a little unusual, most trikes have 2 disc brakes in the back, one on each rear wheel. This one has a single disc center mounted, so you've got basically one rear brake caliper, one front caliper. Now, these are hydraulic brakes, so this should stop very nicely. And these are 180 millimeter rotors. They look like they're relatively thick. It says 180E, so I think these are like an e-bike specific rotor. That's gonna make them pretty nice. Now, power-wise, this is a 500 watt motor, so I don't expect amazing things for climbing hills, but it should be decent with the mid-mounted position. We're gonna go try that out. Has 7 speeds, should give us a good pedaling cadence. Speaking of which, it's a cadence sensor, which makes sense. That's pretty good value overall, considering they're on sale right now for $15.99. I think that's a good price for a mid-motor trike with hydraulic brakes and a 14 amp hour battery. This is a little interesting. Instead of putting the battery behind the seat post like most companies, they put it underneath the rack. So you have this bag. This comes with it. That's can zip closed. You can store a bunch of stuff in here. And then you have this rack setup where you've got one battery right here. And then you kind of have some extra storage space right here. I mean, from me looking at it, I guess if you wanted more range, this rack right here is identical from one side to the other. It would be real easy to plug in another battery right here, potentially. I don't know if it's designed for that, but it looks like it could fit. And then these are narrower 2-inch, what are they, 2.5 Yeah, 2.5 inch by 20 inch tires. So not a fat tire trike. Also, no suspension up front. All of that means that this trike is going to be set up for the street, cruising around the neighborhood. Not one for off-road, but it's supposed to be comfortable. I think it will be. So we've got a lot of adjustment in the handlebars. They could come either very close like they are now or very far out. It came with the mirrors that are on it. Might as well adjust those since we're gonna cruise around town a little bit. Let's go cruise around town, feel the power out, feel the brakes. Yeah, have some fun. All right, throttle works, that's great. I can't do a wheelie on this, sorry. Doesn't have that much power. Although it feels pretty peppy for a 500 watt. Crawled up that hill without too much trouble. We got steeper hills to try. The display is in color, which is nice. It's real easy to read, but it is kind of an overcast day. We're not really dealing with direct sun on the display. It's very simplistic, if anything. We got speed in the middle, pedal assist on the bottom, and then our battery percentage. And that's it on the main screen. Although if we press the button again, we can see odometer, trip meter, riding time, range, battery voltage, average speed. Oh, we have power and watts. I'm gonna leave it there while we go up the hill. Max speed. So this screen has every basic thing I would want it to have. And so far it's feeling nice and stable. They did kind of a weird thing. They put the throttle on the right, which might seem normal for most right-handed people, but now that my thumb's busy with the throttle, I can't reach over to shift gears unless I'm using the assist. So that's why I like to put the throttle on the left side, because I don't have enough fingers over here. That could be moved though. You know, so this is interesting. I was just about to say, this feels quite impressive for a 500 watt because I'm climbing up this hill like really easy. If I look at the screen, I'm not gonna do a dyno run on this because it's a trike. Is power really the most important thing? Not really, as long as it can climb a hill. It's pegged right at 1,031 watts. So yes, they do advertise this as a 500 watt, but clearly it's got more in it than that. I was genuinely concerned that on these steeper hills, this actually wasn't gonna work out very well. And we flew up that hill with ease. Now we weren't going like crazy fast or anything. I'll have to do another hill and watch my speed. But it took me right up the hill. And now that we're on a flat stretch, we're getting 20 miles an hour, which is plenty on a trike. All right, so here's just kind of a shallow hill, full throttle, no pedaling, 12, 13, 14 miles an hour up this little grade. Still picking up a little speed as it's flattening out. Not too bad. Brakes are feeling pretty good. I was kind of wondering if I would notice the difference braking wise between a trike with a single front rotor and a single rear rotor versus ones that have a single front and dual in the back, and honestly, it feels the same. On most bikes, you just have two rotors, one front, one rear. I think when you have two rears, you're kind of just dividing the pressure between the two rear rotors, so in theory, the stopping power might be the same. I don't know if that's technically accurate or not. Somebody can correct me in the comments, I'm sure they will. I guess I'm just saying that to say that this is more than enough. Also, 20 mile an hour max. Oh, you know, if we go to the right here, we've got a pretty steep hill. This will be good for seeing what kind of power speed can we get up a steep hill. Let's do it. We're gonna shift around. Got our mirrors adjusted. That one needs to be tightened a little bit. It's a little floppy. Okay. Whoa, around a turn. Stability feels pretty good. All right, we've used up a little bit of battery power, so we're getting a 970 watts still, though. And we're doing 11.5 miles an hour. That's pretty steep right there. I think they said on their website, like, capacity or load capacity, something to that effect, 300 pounds. So obviously you're gonna go a little bit slower up the hill, but I think it'll still do it pretty well. I think that was my biggest concern about this, was the power. And it's got more than advertised. And it feels like I was hoping it would. Nice and stable. Like I said, you keep the center of gravity low. Whip around turn here. Woo-hoo. I got the rear tire off a little bit right there, but I was kind of trying. Now, it doesn't have suspension, so big speed bump like that, you're gonna want to slow down a little bit. But it's really not bad. It's just not something I would want to take off-road, or probably not on gravel. Normally that wouldn't be where I'd want to take a trike anyway. But if you need a trike, you want to go on gravel, you're probably going to want to go with something with like a plus size or fat tire. It's zippy, but smooth. I suppose I should test out the pedal assist a little bit. So this is a cadence sensor. I would say one of my critiques of some trikes with a cadence sensor is that you get people that want a trike that need to go slow. They're not used to being on two wheels. And sometimes pedal assist 1 can be too jumpy and too powerful. So what does 1 feel like? Oh, super slow actually. We're doing 2.9 miles an hour. That's actually perfect, because I find that some of them go too fast. Like pedal assist 1 will take you up to like 10 miles an hour. So like I said, that's a common complaint I've seen when people come to test ride trikes, is even assist 1 can be too much with a cadence sensor specifically. It's really not a problem with a torque sensor. So under 3 miles an hour, this might feel like I'm going ridiculously slow, and I am, but this is perfect. This is what some people want. Let's bump it up to 2. We're getting a bit more power. Now I'm seeing about 300 watts or so. 3 bumps us up to like 500 watts. So level 3 is like the wattage they advertise, or close to it. And then pedal assist 5 gets you like 1,000 watts. So that gives you an idea of the power levels of this thing. It's quicker than I was expecting because of that. Now, it does have a headlight, tail light, brake light. It does not have turn signals, which I'm seeing on more trikes these days. Not a deal breaker. Not for me anyway. It's a nice plus when they have it, not necessary. Just some running lights is sufficient. And I will say the backrest is kind of a, what are people angry about? Kind of a personal preference. It's a little hard if it's not adjustable. I'll have to check this one. Oh, that's weird. There used to be a signal here, and it's gone. I wonder if they're gonna do a roundabout or something. The road's smooth though, that's nice. That was one of the worst roads, and they actually repaved it. Smooth. This is a very, very nice ride. It reminds me of like commuter bikes that have like the 27.5 tires where they just roll really nice. That's how this trike feels. Like once you get up to speed, like it just coasts really easy. It wasn't supposed to rain today. It's starting to rain. You know, I gotta say, it's also pretty quiet. I don't know if it's just because the motor is center mounted like that or what, but I mean, it's a geared hub motor, and you'd expect a little bit of gear noise, and it's very quiet. I can't say it's totally silent, but close. Really, really close to totally silent. Just a very, very, very gentle, light hum when I first take off, and I gotta be listening for it. Basically in traffic, it's silent. To me, definitely silent to other people in cars. The price, the value, it's got everything I would need. The only thing I thought it was missing was the power, because it says right there, 48 volt, 500 watts. It says on their website 500 watts, but after riding it, clearly it's got more than 500 watts between the motor controller. It's got more than 500 watts of power. It gets right up to 20 miles an hour easily, and it's not too much power in the low pedal assist settings. Very important to program these correctly with a cadence sensor, and I gotta say, they did an excellent job on that. So don't let the cadence sensor scare you away if you're kind of looking at reviews and saying you want a torque sensor. For a cadence sensor, this is very smooth, very controllable compared to some of the other trikes I've ridden in this similar price range and category. If you're looking for a trike that can go on the street, you don't need to do any off-road harsh stuff, so you're not needing the fat tires or suspension, which I don't think most people riding a trike need or want that necessarily. This one actually is a pretty nice model. This is one that I would definitely, if I had some of these in my store, which, hey, I've got one already, I think I could sell these very, very easily. So this is definitely going to be the first one that's up for sale. I think odds are good. I'm probably going to reach out to Emojo and say, you know what? These actually are pretty nice. I wouldn't mind getting a few more of these. The brakes felt good. No noise, no squeaking. You know, I gotta say, the fit finish was pretty good on this. Like I said, it's got a nice color display. We're getting a little touch of rain on there, but very easy to read. Let's go back to the main screen. This is what I was saying about it being very minimalist, where you just have the assist level, your speed, and the battery. And that's it, which is all you really need normally. And then I was using some of these other screens while I was riding. The power was one of the things I was paying attention to for testing those. I barely even put a dent in it so far, but I'm gonna need to go ride this thing some more because it's actually kind of fun. I just need to tighten up that mirror a little bit. But back to the very first thing I started with, the other reason people are gonna like this is because of that crank forward design. It just keeps the saddle lower, makes it more comfortable, makes it easier to get on and off. So I think that's something that shorter riders and those that are just not comfortable with riding a bike and they're kind of coming back to bike riding on an electric trike, that's something I think they're gonna appreciate. I think, like I said, I did get to ride some others. This is probably the best one that they've got.